So let's start with what should you use this for? Now, what we're going to show is how we use it to respond to RFPs, requests for proposals. And that is probably, in our experiences using it, it's the most in-depth way to use a tool like this. It's the most complicated. It's got the most kind of mumbo jumbo to it. Most sections, typically you're talking, 8 to 12 pages when all is said and done. But that's not the only place you should use it. Now, you can use it to respond to proposals in minutes. This is a process that used to take Silicon Plains somewhere in the neighborhood of 10, 12 hours to get these submitted, to have them get reviewed, to write them all, to have somebody else look them over, to make sure all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Now, what you guys are going to see at the end, the bulk of the project really takes just a few minutes, right? And now we still have to read through it and make sure that it's doing everything that we want it to, but it's going to cut about 90% of your bulk time out of a project like this, as opposed to just sitting down and writing. Second place you should use it to write agreements. You can use the same process to do things like create NDAs, co-branded marketing agreements. Maybe it's media buying, maybe it's insurance estimates, right? Any of this long form, repetitive writing where, hey, the bones of it, the middle kind of 70% of the document, if you would, doesn't change, but I don't want to have to do that from scratch. I don't want to use the same template. It doesn't cover enough ground. That's where you can fit this kind of process in. And lastly on here, we've got, you can use it to create policies. It can quickly create or change and update existing internal policies. So places we've seen it used, safety policies, phone usage, AI usage, right? Kind of a big one. A lot of people don't have that in place yet. Vacation time updates, etc. But anywhere where you are swapping out pages of writing, pages of kind of just that long form work where you're just typing all day, that's really where this would be used. So, what goes into this? Let's just talk about kind of some of the things that come in and out of this. First thing is formatting. Formatting of a tool like ChatGPT, Copilot, Grok, it's never quite what you want it to be out of the box. So you really have to train the AI to break it down into sections. And then I'm going to include things like, hey, respond in bullet points. So I can do a quick bulleted list of the services we offer. Hey, let's do an executive summary of what's already been written. Or you can have it try and create the formatting, but you got to understand it's not going to properly insert like a branded letterhead at the top, right? That's just not going to quite turn out the way you need it to. And so that's where you're going to take the bulk of the work that this AI tool is doing, and you're going to use it to save yourself all of that time and just toss it into your existing formatting. Big thing here, we're going to show this in a couple of seconds, but no web use. You got to make sure that web use is turned off if you're creating this yourself, if it's something that you're building in-house. If you keep it turned on, you can see my spelling mistake here, so you can tell this presentation wasn't put together with AI because AI spells better than I do. But if you keep it turned on, it will make mistakes and it will hallucinate responses. So that's something I'm going to show here in a couple of seconds. But you want to make sure that it's going to respond and act like you right away. And the best way you can do that, last bullet point here, use examples. If you can load up existing examples of other proposals, documents, policies, that's where updating existing internal policies is so easy. It will have done what it needs to do significantly better, right? It's not going to make as many mistakes. It's going to already know kind of roughly the format you're looking for, the way you speak. It's not going to make stuff up, and it's going to be so much more effective than what might otherwise go into it. So let's go into it. So this here is something that we did in AI Bootcamp a couple of weeks ago, and I want to show it here. So we're going to do just a couple of minutes here on kind of a behind the scenes how we set these up. So you can see in my Microsoft Copilot environment in this example, this agent sitting here, we call it our new RFP response agent. And all we're going to do is we're just going to go in here, we're going to edit. So obviously, it would take way too long to load to build this from scratch on the fly. But we're just going to run through, a couple of things here. So very simple. We're going to use it to respond to RFPs. Hey, respond to our requests using everything loaded up into your knowledge section. Stick to the same format and tone. Sounds good into the knowledge section. How do you train and create one of these for yourselves? First things first, search all websites has to be turned on. Now, this does not mean it cannot access any websites. You can put your company's website in there so it knows what you do, knows your phone numbers, knows your business hours, knows where you're headquartered, year you were founded, all that kind of stuff. But if you turn this on, it is going to assume it can take anything it finds on the internet and say, yes, you do that. Yes, we provide that service. This is the difference between building out a more custom solution like this and just using general ChatGPT, right? So this is really important. It's one of the most important steps in this. You want to only use specified sources, and then you want to load those sources up. So you can see what we've done. We took, well, 7 proposals that we responded to. And we went out and we loaded these up. These were 7 things we had done over 2024, 2025 before we started using this program really later last year. And you can see that I named them all because they all say things like final version 2, right? Which is not always a great sign. But what you're going to do is you're just going to take responses, take similar documents that you already have, if you have them, and load them up. If you don't have them, if you haven't done this, if you've never done a proposal like this, what you want to do is put together just a really simple Word document with the rules you want AI to follow, and you're going to load that up. And that's what it's going to learn. This is going to be all that it does. And you can see that's it. There's nothing else. There's no other step to this. Turn off the web search, load it up with what you want it to be able to know, and cut it loose. All right, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We kind of ran through that first part a little bit quicker than I thought I would, so we will definitely have time to demo this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a proposal that we actually did respond to last year, and I'm just going to say, hey, let's put this proposal in again. So I'm going to load it up, and I'm going to tell it, I need you to create a response to this proposal based on what's in your knowledge base. And I'm going to struggle to type that out here. Well, right away, first thing, misspelled the 3rd word. So I'm going to let this think for a couple of seconds here, and I'm just going to kind of fill the time a little bit. So you can see the instructions I gave it were very vague. Now, I gave it those vague instructions so we can see how it thinks, see how it works right here live as a group. But what you're going to do is you're going to always have to kind of tweak that a little bit. So for example, if we go into the bones of this proposal, it might have listed out a really nice table of contents that we need to follow. Well, right now in this example, we didn't give it that. If we give it that, it'll be able to respond a little bit better, a little bit smoother, be able to produce things in a ready to go kind of way. You can see it's already started to churn it out here. This tells us it's still working on a response. So I'm not going to scroll too fast. Otherwise, I might get a little bit choppy here. But let's just start with, hey, the proposal. Yes, this is the name of the proposal. This is what we're doing, professional managed IT services. Here's a proposal response. That is correct. Town of Paonia in Colorado is who this is for. It's got the date it was issued. It's got the due date. Obviously, we're a touch late on this if we were to apply for it now. And then it also links back to where it found this information. So it's going to say, hey, this is the proposal you put in. That's where we pulled the information and the response from. So you can see whenever we do a proposal of any kind, we always have a cover letter. So what this is doing is it's taking our regular format that we have loaded into it and assigned it, and now it's going to respond that same way. I want to touch on something while I'm at this part of it before we get too deep. And I don't know how many people have caught on to this because you'd have to be a pretty good speed reader, but throughout this proposal, you are going to see things like the town. Typically, you would be reading this and you would say, hey, that's a weird way to respond to a proposal like this. The proposal specifically requests that we refer to the town of Paonia as the town in all caps throughout. So what this AI has done is not only has it begun formatting our response into the way that we've submitted previous responses, it's gone through that entire document and said, hey, this is how the town of Paonia wants to be addressed. Let's make sure we start with that right up front, and you're going to see that continue throughout. Looks like it's done loading up here, but you can see it has already started. We understand the needs and requirements. We understand that it's going to need this level of support, this level of different cybersecurity things, including certain certifications. Now, this is really important because we have that certification, right? The CJIS certification. So it's not making anything up. It's taking previous responses we've done to other government projects, and it's keeping that information and it's pulling it into this response. What you're going to see here is throughout it's going to reference, hey, this is specifically requested in that proposal document. Here are all the different things that we do. Here's how we're prepared to support the environment. All of this totally tracks with the work that we've done, right? The work that we've done before. So here's what it's going to do. It's going to start to list out the qualifications and expertise that we have as a company. Now, we have not given it these names, these roles, these years of experience. But what it's done is it's gone ahead and it's formatted it and put the proposal in already. So now all we have to do is fill in, hey, since 2009. So we've been in business 17 years. Here's the business structure. Now all we have to do is copy and paste this and put that kind of information in. All right, let's continue down here a little bit. It's going through the project scope, going through all these different response things. But you can see it's got highlighted by section. Those sections match the proposal request that we put into it. And then it's got our answer to all of those things. We do CGIS line support for police departments. We do preventative maintenance, patching, and updates. So what we've got now is a really good kind of format and groundwork for our response to this proposal. So now we can scroll down here a little bit further. You can see we got built out things like our, cost proposal, statement of acceptance, next steps. So let's just say, hey, let's tailor this. It's asking, because we give it such limited information, it's asking, hey, do we want to tailor this to a specific MSP? Let's put in there, yes, Silicon Plains. And let's see what it brings back. You can tell that we this one is based only off of our templated documents and our referrals. So let's see what it comes back with here. But you see how quickly that built out the framework for us to respond. I mean, this document is, at this point to copy and paste all of these, it's 7 sections and it's, going to take up 4, 5, 6 pages. Perfect length for our, kind of initial response. We put things together. Obviously, we'll have to, the cover page will be its own page, things like that. Cost, we'll have to, sit down and kind of pencil out what the cost would need to be in a project like this. But, oh, perfect. Here we go. So now it's going to come through and it's going to update some of these things by putting Silicon Plains in place. So you can see here how quickly it, hey, insert your letterhead here, insert the date here. Hey, Silicon Plains LLC is the company for all these things. So now we've got that put in place, everything, pulled the correct contact information, not only for the account manager in general, but for the Denver area account manager, right? So you can see how quickly it grabbed the correct one. Let's see if it gives a breakdown here. Oh, it did not. Okay. Yeah, we have got to get that loaded in there for these kind of responses. But that shows you really quickly, hey, it's going to sub out things like, yes, we can do references, but now let's get rid of that blank and let's kind of talk about, hey, Silicon Plains is city municipal projects, police departments, state and county organizations. So now it's already tailoring the recommended references for a project like this based on similar projects that we've done. And what we've done here, perfect. So you can see, hey, this is a rough draft of all the things that are included in there, rough estimate on monthly investment, rough statement of acceptance, things like that. So now what we can do here is we can do a whole bunch of different kind of submission ready things. Now I've got under 1 minute to wrap up this portion of the demo, but you can see how quickly this can be used for things like loading up all of your company's existing HR policies and asking Copilot to read through anything that is outdated, maybe that's expired, maybe systems or programs that you no longer have in place, asking it to refresh it. How quickly you can take something like, just as an example, a place where we see used all the time, insurance claim processing, insurance reviews, and your restoration and your emergency services industries. How quickly something like this can just make changes, can tweak, can give suggestions, and you're not starting from zero every single time. That makes sense. So that wraps up, I believe. Let me see what else I got on my slides here. Kind of this demo portion. So as you guys have questions, drop them in here. I know I got a couple submitted ahead of time by some people who are expected to attend, but that kind of wraps up the demo portion. So one of the questions that I got here that was submitted ahead of time is where else can this be used other than proposals? Because not every industry, right, makes proposals kind of long form like this. And what I would say is we see it used all the time in what are typically considered kind of the blue collar industry. So your plumbing estimates, your insurance estimates, your auto repair, right? What you're seeing is they have really what's the same document that gets produced over and over and over again. What happens is people make a copy of a copy of a copy, whereas you can use a program like this simply put in somebody's, just say, appointment details or case info, right, from the work that you've had done, load it up into something like Copilot and have it produce a from scratch letter each time. Right now, what we do here when we use ours, it's a little bit more what I would kind of say of a complicated use case, right? I mean, we're talking bigger proposals, a lot of information to digest. But just think for a second, something like, hey, conference registration for conferences that you're hosting. Hey, here's a very, kind of simple agreement for, maybe it's NDA, maybe it's non-disclosure, maybe it's just a simple, agreement contract for services, right? You can have AI create those things, have them in a ready to sign format, with just a little bit of tweaking. And really all you need to do to feed into it is to have done it before, to have an example, or really kind of have a rough idea of, here are the principles we want, here are the rules I want you to follow, and be able to take it that way, if that makes sense. Perfect. So I see one other question here. I just got added again. If you guys have questions as we're in kind of the wrap up portion of this, feel free to drop them now. And of course, anybody who wants more information on this, yeah, send us an email. You should have my email as part of the invitation here, but happy to hop on a call and answer any more in-depth questions. But the next question that I've got is, how easy is it to make changes to a system like this when there's a whole bunch of people, maybe participating? So the example that was brought up is, if I've got a whole team of salespeople, how do I make sure that they're all using this the same way and enforcing that usage? And the kind of short answer is, it's really hard to, right? But what you can do is, anytime you add a document to an AI agent like this, yes, it saves it to that agent, but it saves it based on email address. So it can get a little bit easy for people to let their agents kind of run wild on them. And what I would say is, you can simply restrict that access, right? So all you've got to do is make it so people cannot edit the core knowledge base, but they can add individual documents to each chat. And that way they can get questions answered and have changes made to a document, but they can't, ruin it for everybody, so to speak. So that's a really good question there. And yeah, hope that kind of answers that question. If not, send me a message, let me know. Perfect. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions at the moment. Oh, I do. I got one. I see a hand raised. Hang on. Let me see if I can allow you to talk. All right. Michael, you should be able to talk and ask your question.
Actually, I just wanted to make sure that we're what when it's creating these documents and different things like this, don't think that AI is a supplement or a replacement for hiring an attorney. If you're
Yes.
having it do any kind of legal
Very good
type
note.
document that is, terms and conditions or anything like that, you absolutely should still have that reviewed by an attorney. AI is not an attorney. It does not have a law degree. It is not a replacement for that. Spend the money, do it right.
Yes, absolutely. Fantastic note. Very good point. Something I should have brought up. Yes, absolutely. Things like, well, like Mike mentioned, anything that you would need an attorney to do, an attorney, please, is definitely the way to go. There is no substitute for that, and there will not be a really legally viable substitute for that for a very long time, the way things are looking right now. So great, great point.